My name is Dominic Weaver. I'm the editor of FIDI Focus magazine, and I'm here in Dubrovnik at the 2025 FIDI Conference. I caught up with Marc Wille of PAC Global International, and we discussed insurance in the moving and relocation industry. So Marc, the pandemic 5 years ago changed insurance for household goods from what I can see. Could you tell us a little bit more about how it changed?
Well, I find that the pandemic changed the world in so many ways. I truly believe that we are at the beginning of a 1,000-year change on a global basis. The world has changed dramatically during the 20th century, but it's this compared to what we're going to see over the next 100 years. And we're watching it, and it's hitting us blindsided. And if you take that into the moving industry, which is really the movement of ideas via people, the people don't have to move any longer. And so that, I believe, is very much one of the challenges for the industry, but a challenge which most certainly can be adapted to.
Mm-hmm. So how do you see it evolving in the next 25 years, say?
You know, if I knew, we wouldn't be sitting here. I see that over the next couple of years that the companies are going to have to adapt. They're going to have to keep an eye not on their revenue, but on their margins. The revenue has always been very, very important to the removal industry, but the margins are so much more significant. And I know that insurance has been one of the largest profit centers on the movers' P&L statements. It's not there anymore. And so many in this industry are challenged with that reality. And they're getting squeezed by the shipping lines and so forth. So it's our intent to educate and help support that solution to what I believe is very obvious.
So what are the main risks that movers need to insure against today?
The main risks are the same as they've always been.
Okay.
Which led me to going back, is skilled labor force. Mm-hmm. It's breakage. It's sloppiness. It's they're trying to save money by not hiring skilled people to do the moves. Mm-hmm. And they're being forced to do so because of the squeeze on the margins. And that's where the risks become greater. And that is why the margins on the insurance have become slimmer, because the claims have increased.
Okay. And so what about the increased risk of disruption or delays to supply chains? You know, we've got major conflicts going on. Shipping is much less reliable than it was pre-pandemic. So are they things people can mitigate through insurance?
No. But it's a great question. Delay insurance is a very unique niche, very expensive niche, something that this industry is not going to get involved in. On the general merchandise, on projects, yes, we most certainly do provide for delay insurance because projects have to be done. And they're backed up with bonds, performance bonds, and so forth. But as far as moving transferees, no. If it's delayed and it's at a bonded warehouse, it's going to remain at the bonded warehouse. The good thing is for us is that we make money on the insurance while it's in store. So the longer a shipment is in store, the more premium there is for us.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that we want to encourage it by any means. We want to make sure that everybody understands that they have to insure it and extend that coverage for the longer stay while it's in store.
Okay. Okay. So are you seeing more claims or more severe claims than you have before?
We're seeing both. We're seeing both. The severity of the claims come into play because of the skilled labor force issue. The frequency of claims come into what I believe are the expectations of the transferees, the lack of education that the forwarder provides to the transferee. Damage in a movement is inherent. Insurance really doesn't cover inherent vices. However, you can mitigate what is inherent so it's no longer inherent. And by explaining those risks as a forwarder and explaining that you, as a forwarder, do everything in your power and control to mitigate those perils, then in fact those risks can be minimized. But it's an education process that is very, very important. And we find that there is a turnover level. So we'll train our clients, and then 8 months, 12 months go by, and we have to go back and retrain because the new folks aren't aware of what has to be discussed with the transferees. Okay. And at the end of the day, it's the transferees that need to be taken care of.
Okay, okay. So what new solutions does PAC Global have in place to cater for these new changing demands in relation to this new environment we're operating in?
We have always been very proactive with adaptation. We have created software so that the transferee, the forwarder, at the forwarder's discretion, allows full transparency of the claim process on a 24/7 basis. So if you were transferred to Singapore and you had damage, you just pick up your phone and it goes right through our claim process. Emails automatically go out. There is a portal to which is a dashboard and explains exactly where your claim is at.
Okay, okay. So we've seen a lot of movers of household goods diversify their businesses to mitigate their own risks into areas such as fine art and antiques and pets and so on. Presumably this creates opportunities for companies like PAC Global.
No question about it. PAC Global, we've always done general merchandise, household goods, military, special projects, and of course fine arts. And fine arts is very much, I think, a relatively more simple switch for the forwarding community, but I also encourage them to get involved in general merchandise as well. Because although the revenue will remain at play for household good removals, the margins are not going to be there. And so they must diversify into these other areas.
And could you just tell us a little bit about tariffs? We've talked a lot about tariffs at the conference already in the last day or so. Could you just tell us about the potential impact of tariffs on the businesses of movers? There's obviously lots of things that could change in the next few weeks and months, but could you just tell us, from where we stand at the moment, what are the potential impacts on movers' businesses, and is there insurance that movers can take out to mitigate these risks?
I'll start with the latter end of that question. Yeah. For general merchandise forwarders, general merchandise importers, what's happening is they're filling up their warehouses. So they're going to avoid the tariffs to the best capabilities they can. That's a great thing for PAC Global because the values go up. The interesting thing from my perspective is that we're not hearing the truth about the tariffs. And so the tariffs are going to come into play, but to the magnitude to which you're hearing and reading, no. It's posturing. And it needs to take place to make the world on a global basis more fair for all of the countries on the globe. But as far as household good removals, I think it's an up because people are going to be moved around following the products, following the raw materials. So the movement of employees has to change for the good of this industry to deal with the way the goods are going to flow.
Okay, so you think tariffs could potentially cause movement,
An upbeat,
stimulate? Okay.
an upbeat in revenue.
Okay. Okay.
I'm confident of that.